Hey, everybody, welcome to the Player's Take, episode 201. That's fucking weird to say. I'm your host, Justin DeSimone, joined by my co-host, Montrell Rice. Montrell, how are you doing this week?
Hey, what's up? How you going?
Good, good. Did you have a nice Christmas?
Yeah, it's pretty dope. Pretty chill.
Yeah, me too.
Just been chilling all weekend, or I just been in the house all weekends, all week actually. I haven't left the house. I think I left the house for one time.
Fucking total degen mode. I love it. No, this motherfucker got the week off from his job. You know, no PTO needed. Like they just shut down for the week. It's a nice place to
And we're
be.
still getting paid for it.
Yeah, it's a nice place to be, man. That's great. You got a great gig right now.
Yeah.
I've been all week. I've just been like, man, I should have taken this week off. Man, I should have taken this week off because all I want to be doing right now is playing games like with you guys. But alas, that was not my fate. So, but Montreal, let's cut the bullshit. Let's just get straight into business this week. Let me do the rigmarole and we'll get right into it. So, for those of you who haven't listened before, this is our weekly show where we talk about video games, video game news, and other topics pertaining to video games. We post at 6 a.m. Central Time on Fridays on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and your favorite podcast app of choice. And if you'd like to send us a question, you can do so on Twitter, or you can send us an email to theplayerstake01@gmail.com. All right, Montreal, let's just get right into it. So, this is not going to be a normal episode. There's not going to be games we're playing or news or anything like that. This is our 2023 game preview. So, Montreal and I both have our own separate lists of games we want to talk about. There is plenty of overlap in that, which we will, of course, get into. But yeah, let's just get started, Montreal. How's that sound?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's start. First game. I'm just going to go in order of the dates, release dates that we know of, and then we'll go through things that don't have release dates. First thing we both have is Fire Emblem Engage, which is coming on January 20th, which is literally like 3 weeks from tomorrow, I think. So, Montreal, I mean, we haven't seen much of this game, right?
Uh, for me, I did catch a glimpse of it. It was like a YouTube recommended it to me.
Yeah.
I've been getting better recommendations from YouTube ever since I stopped the whole algorithm thing. Is a setting in your YouTube. Side note, y'all, it's a setting in your YouTube or your Google account where you can stop it from recommending you stuff that based on your search history and like follow history. It's weird, but it goes back to like old YouTube anyway. But anyway, I saw like someone was talking about Fire Emblem, and I don't know, it looks pretty cool. Like it looks like the older Fire Emblems, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
As far as combat wise, the animations look really good as far as like the 2D ones, how the animation is really good. And your crit animations were like super good, super flashy.
Yeah.
And that's what this one reminds me of. Like, because ever since they made that transition to 3D, Fire Emblem's animations, they've been good. But they haven't been like, flashy good like they were in the 2D era. So it looks like this one's finally, because Three Houses had a little bit of that where it was like going in that direction. But I feel like this would Engage is going all the way in that direction. We're getting back to the flashiness.
They've had a journey with this where I think when Awakening came out, they were too flashy. And then Fates ratcheted that up and they were even flashier, and it was way too flashy for me. And then Three Houses like toned it down big time. It was like way more kind of straightforward, I guess, animations, even for the crits. And I kind of preferred that personally. So we'll see. I guess we'll see where this falls for me. But I don't know. The game overall, I don't know how excited I am right now about it. It may come out and it probably is going to get some great scores, and I'm sure I will play it. I just don't know if I'm going to buy it on the 20th and play it right away.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm really at that point with this game, but it depends. I mean, I think there were some articles saying that the out of battle stuff was kind of toned down compared to Three Houses, which I think is a good thing. I think Fire Emblem for me, what I love about Fire Emblem is kind of that old. I think Fire Emblems up through Radiant Dawn is like primo strategy RPG, excellent shit, right? Because There's not a lot of bullshit in those games. It's straight up battles, 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 battles. It's like a battle, there's some dialogue, and then you do a little bit of prep for the next battle, and then you're right into the next battle. It's like there's not too much else going on. And I'm gonna be honest, I think Fire Emblem's at its best like that. I think ever since Awakening and forward, there's just been way too much extraneous BS that they've added to these games that I'm just not. I feel like they're taking away from the core gameplay formula, because like Three Houses to me is just like it's a tale of two games to me. Is when I'm in the battles in that game, the game is a fucking 10, But when I'm in the monastery between battles, having to talk to fucking everybody and like get ready for the next battle and do all this bullshit, the game's like a fucking 7. I'm just not, I wasn't having anywhere near as much fun. So it's like that game frustrates me a lot, because like the combat in that game is as good as it's been in like 15 years, for Fire Emblem. Um,
Yeah.
but but man, that dude, it's just the out of battle stuff is just so time consuming. Is they turn a game that should take 30 to 40 hours into one that takes 80 hours. It's like, and we
I
talk
think
about this with every game we talk about. It's like too much bloat.
Yeah, I think
So
they do the same thing. They have the issue that they have like with Sonic, right? Sonic has this
yeah,
issue where the team feels like straight Sonic gameplay is not enough, so they put a lot of bloat shit in there
yeah,
uh,
right,
to shoot that. Even with like Adventure, you had Tails, Amy, Knuckles,
hmm,
yeah, all these side characters that are just the main Sonic character himself.
right,
I feel like with Fire Emblem, they feel like they have to do the same shit. They It's almost like they just like Sonic, they have no confidence in their own core gameplay that they feel like, okay, we have to add other shit to this game because if we don't, then people will not like the game
yeah,
outside the combat. Whereas nowadays, I think the world is so fast paced now, where is that we want that fast. We want to just jump straight into it and play the game. We don't really care about the bloat shit anymore. Um,
yeah,
so, but like with like Fates and
hmm,
Awakening,
hmm,
I agree with you. The combat was too flashy in a way that it was slowing down the combat.
yeah.
I remember for Fates or not Awakening, I remember you had to when Crom got ready to attack, he had to take his sword out. They had to like kind of
And he
rest it,
slow
hit,
walks.
then come
Yeah.
back. Yeah,
Yeah. I
it was
just, dude,
just too
it was
much.
to the point
Yeah.
that I turned animations off, right? When you're playing a
Yeah.
strategy RPG, this is where that your animations are obnoxious, is when your players prevalently are turning the animations off in your game. That's when you've gone too far. Like
Yeah.
Disgaea does that shit. Fire Emblem's has done it before as well, and other strategy RPGs have also fallen into that trap. And yeah, Fire Emblem, I think like Fates and Awakening are turn the animations off kind of strategy RPGs. Three Houses is not like that.
Yeah.
It's much more snappy. It's quick. They're quick animations. They're over within 3 or 4 seconds. They don't. Yeah, like you said, like God, Crom. I remember. Yeah, he would have the sword in the ground, and his fucking like collar, whatever scarf thing would be like flagging in the wind. And then he'd like pick it up slowly, and then he'd like fucking go and hit the guy. It's like, bro, like
Yeah, it
Jesus
was just
Christ.
so much for no fucking
That was for
reason. It
his
was
normal
cool like
attack,
the
by the
first
way. That was for his normal
exactly.
attack. That was not his crit. Yeah.
It was cool for like the first 2 hours of the game, and then I remember I turned the animations off, and then after that I kind of stopped playing the game because I like the anime. I always love the animation in Fire Emblem when I'm
Hmm.
fighting.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
but this was my first 3D Fire Emblem experience. Unfortunately, I didn't play like Path of Radiance and
Radiant Dawn.
uh
Yeah.
Brilliant Dawn. So this is my first intro into the 3D world, and I was just like, this is not good at all. Like, like I was turned off by it.
God,
And
man.
then Three Houses came out.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, this is exactly what I wanted, and I didn't know what it was until I played it, and then I went back and played Awakening. That I was like, oh, it was the fucking animations, like everything
Yeah.
like you said, everything in Three Houses is just so snappy. But then outside of Three Houses, it's like I didn't want to play the other two campaigns rather,
Yeah.
because I didn't want to do the house shit. Like I
Same.
just didn't care about the
Same.
monastery shit at all,
But
man.
you have to do it. Like to get
Yeah,
the full
exactly.
experience of the game, you have to do it. It's like you can't like you're not going to be able to recruit people if you don't do it. You're not going to be able to like do side quests if you don't like go around talking to people. It's just you're like giving up money and like items and stuff that you. It's just, dude. It's obnoxious. Like dude, to me at this point, what I need from Fire Emblem, and I made a prediction for this last year and it didn't come true, is we need a Radiant collection of Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn on Switch, and we need it fucking yesterday because I need people to see what excellent fucking tight long ass Fire Emblem games are. Because like I feel like we've totally lost that, dude. Because Path of Radiance is not that long. It's probably 26 chapters, I think, but
Hmm.
which that's like standard Fire Emblem length, generally speaking, from that era. And it's probably 30 hours all told, 30 to 40 hours probably to beat it, if you're playing on normal. And then Radiant Dawn though is like fucking twice that length probably. But the thing is, this is my thing with Radiant Dawn is like people it's like a that's a game that you would think is too long, right? Like 60 hours or something like that to full complete for a Fire Emblem game. Sounds like a lot, but compared to what it is now, it's like, Three Houses is 60 hours to get through one path, and there's only 20 something, like 22 chapters or 23 chapters, whereas Radiant Dawn has like fucking 60. And it's like all it is the reason it's so long is because it's just there's so many battles. It's like battle, 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 battle constantly, back to back to back. It's like there's very little in between the chapters. It's just mostly just prep and like making items and stuff and buying shit from the shop. It's like, unit management a little bit, and there's not like extraneous dialogue and shit like that. You're running around talking to people. Like there's none of that shit. It's just it's so much more straightforward, and the game is so much better for it. In my opinion, in those games. So like they were like those two games to me are the peak of Fire Emblem. Like that's the highest Fire Emblem ever got, and they've never gotten back there. I think Three Houses was as close as they got, but it's not. It's still not there. So that's kind of where I'm at with
Yeah.
Engage. I just don't. I don't. I don't know. Could it be better than Three Houses? Yes, I think it definitely could be. Do I think it's going to be better than Three Houses? I don't know. I'm 50-50 on it. But do I think it's going to reach like how I feel about Radiant Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn, and even going further back like the GBA games? Absolutely not. I just like I don't. I don't think they're making Fire Emblem for me anymore, And it's kind of like the discussions we had about Pokemon is like I still like Fire Emblem, but they've gone away from the formula that I personally really enjoy with the series. So
I think they're just leaning into
the waifu
uh
shit.
yeah, and I mean I guess that's cool. Like I said, it's not for us. Uh I don't know where it came from. I guess just because anime got really popular, people like having waifus and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
They tried it with Awakening and it worked. Um
Oh my
it
god,
worked
yeah.
in
That shit
spades
was
with the
so
DLCs. And I think
yeah.
ever since that moment they were like, shit, we got something here, and they've been leaning into that really hard ever since.
Well, I think it really took off too. Like it started in Awakening, but just took off in Fire Emblem Heroes
Oh,
because remember
absolutely.
the
That's where
bikini
they
lineup and stuff like that.
yeah. That is where they fully realized the waifu simulator dream for a company. Like cuz that game has probably made more money on its own than majority of the rest of the series put together.
Yeah.
At this point. I, so is what it is. All right. Montrell, let's move. Let's keep moving. We got a lot of games to talk about. So the next one is on your list. You have is the Dead Space remake coming on January 27th. Talk to me
Yeah,
about this one.
I'm looking forward to it. I kind of went dark on it. I was looking for Callisto Protocol to be a good competitor to it, but from what I've seen so far,
Hmm.
it's just not shaping up that way. I still haven't played the game because I've just been preoccupied with so many other stuff that I've been wanting to play. But from the tidbits that I did see of Dead Space, it seems like they're really sticking to like making a remake and not it's a remake, but they're not changing like crazy shit. So I'm looking forward to it. It looks like it's going to be more modernized and everything like that.
Hmm.
Maybe some new jump scares and everything of that nature. I'm interested in seeing what they're going to do with this since the original team left. So I'm assuming there are still some people from the original team that still work with EA, but I'm interested in seeing what they're going to do with the rest of the series. A lot of people are really waiting for this game to come out, and yeah, I'm just really I'm one of those people. So
Yeah, and with the Callisto Protocol kind of flopping a little,
yeah,
there is space for this game to kind of just take that take what that game left on the table, basically.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
all right.
Which it was a huge drop because there's a
Yep.
huge fan base for survival horror games.
Hmm.
So
Right.
yeah,
No, this game's gonna be huge. I think it's gonna be huge. I'm gonna be honest. I don't have it on my list. Um, but and I've never played the original Dead Space, and I am not a horror guy. However, everything I've ever seen, heard, read, watched about this game is this might be the one for survival horror game that is for me. Just the concept of it is so fucking fascinating, and I
yeah,
love the execution of it. In this game, I love the fact that you're not some fucking badass that's just like flipping
yeah.
around and shit and doing crazy shit and is like some battle hardened like fucking soldier. You're just like some fucking dude who's like a space miner, and
Pretty
you're using
much.
you're using a like a bolt cutter for mining to kill these creatures. It's like that is such a cool idea. So
Yeah,
I may check this game out myself. I don't know if I'm probably not going to do it at launch, given the proximity to Fire Emblem and Hogwarts Legacy. But I think at some point during the year, I got to play this one. So
yeah.
um,
It was definitely one of those games. The original rather was came out during that era where like everyone was superheroes and everything like that, and they just had this
yeah,
regular ass guy.
hmm
Not to mention like a lot of the UI stuff is in game, so there is no pause menu except for like an actual pause menu to go use the bathroom. But like
mm.
everything else is like in game, so you can get attacked while you're inside. Changing your stuff and everything because the UI is in game.
See,
Your
that's a
health
cool
bars,
interface. Yeah,
yeah, like your health bars is on your back. You see it on your back. When you're changing stuff in the menu, like he brings up the thing on his arm. It's like a hologram thing, almost like
yeah,
like an Omni tool type device,
yeah, yeah.
and you're doing that in game, and so everything's live. So you know what I'm saying. So enemy can't attack you while you're doing that. So you have to be strategic about what you're doing and when you're doing it. So
Hmm.
it was just really cool. It was a really cool game.
Yep. Okay, let's move on. Our next game we both have on our list is Hogwarts Legacy, which is coming out February 10th. I mean, we're
Yeah,
pretty
every
imminent.
time I see this game, man,
Yeah.
every time I see this game, I'm just like, I can't wait.
Well,
I can't
so
wait to play this game.
I know we're pretty close. Do you still think it's coming though? Like on February 10th? Do you think there'll be a delay or
Yes,
no?
I think if there isn't a PS5 or PS4 version, I'm sorry, if there isn't a PS4 or Xbox Series X version or whatever, or Xbox One version
They got
rather,
pushed
uh,
to April, right?
yeah. So I think the PS5 and Series X is coming. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a definite.
Yeah.
I think the reason why it was the delayed was because they were trying to get everything out at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think a lot of people learned from Cyberpunk's mistake where they shouldn't do that type of shit. So um, I think this game's coming out. I think the only thing that's coming that's gonna have a problem is not even related to the game itself. It's related to J.K. Rowling herself.
Yeah.
That might affect the sales. There's
I
been a
don't think it's
huge
gonna
push
matter, dude.
online.
I don't think
You
it's
don't
gonna
think? Yeah,
matter.
I don't think so either.
I think this
But
game's
there's
gonna
been
be
a huge
huge.
wave. Yeah, there's been a huge wave online for people of the trans community to not buy the game, and unfortunately, I don't think that's going to affect the sales because they're like we said, that's like a small majority of people online. Everybody else is going to buy this game regardless if you're online or not. So, yeah, I think this is going to be a fucking huge game. I
Well,
don't know how many sell, but it's going to be
yeah.
huge.
I think this is one of those things. I'm gonna be very fascinated to watch this game's trajectory, because the conversation around it is going to be painted by the hatred for J.K. Rowling. But
Yeah,
what's the reality on the ground going to be? Because it's a lot different. It's very easy to sit on Twitter and scream about how you shouldn't buy this game, fuck her, she's getting all the money for this, blah blah blah, and actually resist the urge to play it when you love Harry Potter. Um, that's I don't think people have gamers have proven over and over and over again. And again, I say this as somebody fully aware of I'm culpable in this as well, that we do not have the willpower to stand behind our guns when it comes to games.
yeah,
And to be honest, I don't have a particular issue with this series or J.K. Rowling. Her comments notwithstanding. So I'm not in the camp where I want to boycott this game. Fuck that. I love Harry Potter. I'm playing this shit. So I'm fucking looking
yeah,
forward to this game. And I'm gonna be honest. I just think this is gonna be huge. there's been a very low rumble for this kind of game from this series for such a long time. Like I'm talking like 15 years, legitimately. Like we've been kind of waiting for this kind of game to come out.
Yeah.
That I just think it's going to be massive. So
Well, I remember we leaked. Well, we didn't leak it, but we heard about the leaks of the game like
mhm.
4 years ago. Like we were in the
Yeah.
closet when we
Yep.
were recording in the closet. When we heard this
Yep.
shit
There were
come
those
out. So
screenshots that came out.
it,
Yeah. Yep.
yep. And so we've been waiting for this flight. And then it just went completely dark.
Right.
And so we've been waiting for it. So
Yep.
I'm not even a big Harry Potter fan. Like I just became a Harry Potter fan, to be honest with you. So but I've always been interested in the world and just to play in the world itself without having to do nothing with the story.
Mhm.
That's like my dream come true as far as like being a new age Harry Potter fan.
Yep. Yep. So all right, let's move on. We both have this next one on our list as well. It is Wild Hearts coming on February 17th. So this one I have a question mark next to you. Doing this exercise with you over the last few years, I've kind of learned things about myself. Looking back on some previous ones, when you go look at old lists, like how many games I had on there that I never played, never ended up playing, is like I guarantee you half the things that are on here I'm probably not going to play next year.
Yeah,
But I still want to put them on here anyways because I always look at this episode as not like a list of things that I'm telling myself I'm going to play necessarily. These are games that I want to shout out that look exciting to me in the next year. That's generally kind of how I approach this episode. So Wild Hearts to me is an interesting game. It's a Monster Hunter clone made by the Dynasty Warriors team Omega Force, which is fucking weird. In partnership with EA of all companies, like this
yeah,
is an extremely strange game being made. But I think EA is trying. I think they recognize that Monster Hunter needs some competition, and games have tried over the years and failed miserably. But I think they put themselves behind this one in a way that the other ones weren't really like. Nobody really put themselves behind. This game
yeah,
actually looks like it could be like good, but I don't think it's gonna do well because Rise is coming to PlayStation 5 and Xbox literally like 3 weeks before it comes out. I think Capcom very strategically is doing that to kneecap this game, which tells me though that they view this game as potential competition, which maybe speaks to its quality behind the scenes potentially.
yeah. I
So
I think from what we've seen, we've said there's a certain thing that Monster Hunter has that all the Monster Hunter clones don't have, and it's hard to explain
yeah,
over the podcast. It's hard to explain in video. It's one of those feelings that you get when you play the game of Monster Hunter compared to like a clone like God Eater or somebody trying to do the formula differently or whatever. And it's like we don't want the formula differently. We just want Monster Hunter. And I feel like when you look at Wild Hearts, you get the understanding that this team knows what that feeling and formula is. They're
hmm,
adding their little flair to it a
yeah,
little bit,
yeah.
but they understand what it is and what people want. I think the only game that got really close to doing that is maybe fuck, I forgot the game name. It was just on the tip of my tongue. It was a PC game, and they got really close to doing it.
Oh,
Um,
is it that free to play one?
yeah, I can't remember the fucking
Oh
name of
my
it.
god,
Goddamn.
it's on the tip of my tongue too. Yeah, just keep going. I'll look it up.
Yeah. But that was probably the only game to get close, but it was free to play, and
Dauntless.
I just didn't. Dauntless. There you go. I thought the designs of some of the monsters in the art style was really kind of weird. Same with Wild Hearts. I don't like. Okay, I do like the aesthetic of the Japanese aesthetic. I just think it's overdone, which really separates Monster Hunter away from other people because they do the Japanese aesthetic, they do the European aesthetic, they do the caveman aesthetic, they do all these aesthetics within one game. They do it well. Um, I feel like Wild Hearts, um, for a lot of people, the gear is just as much
Mm,
as fun as the monster. I want to look cool while I'm killing these cool monsters as well. So I don't know. I'm not going to get it first day. I'm going to let it bake for like a month, see what comes out of it. Maybe pick it up because I mean, obviously, me and you are kind of like not done with the Sunbreak, but we're just like we're gonna wait
Waiting.
till like maybe
Yeah.
summertime to play it again where everything else comes out. So
Yeah. Right.
yeah,
Yeah, I think it looks good. I'm kind of with you. I'm gonna wait and see what the verdict is. Maybe see some real gameplay once it's out. That's kind of what I tend to wait for. I don't really care about reviews that much, but I just want to see what the game looks like in the moment to moment of like a full hunt, you know.
yeah,
Um, but and kind of understand the RPG mechanics on the back end a little bit as well. Is that stuff going to jive with me? So we'll see. I'm not particularly confident with this game right now, though. I think Rise coming to PS5 like a few weeks beforehand is going to kind of kneecap this game. To be honest, because I think they're gonna capture the market there, and like let's be real, people who get into Monster Hunter, like once they're in, they're fucking in, dude. Like
yeah.
it's hard to break them away from it, from what I've seen. So yeah.
The only thing I can say, if I was EA, I would do cyber disinformation against Sunbreak or against Rise and say like, have influencers be like, well, Sunbreak's not even with the base game. This is the base game of Rise. This isn't Sunbreak that PC and Switch has already. You're not getting that experience
Mm-hmm.
yet. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that might be the one saving grace because I didn't like base Rise. Like it
But
was
we're like
okay,
the only
but
ones who said that, man. Like I don't know. I don't feel like that was a
that's
common
true.
opinion.
That's true.
Um,
We are the only ones that said
I
that.
think Capcom is going to be fine. Yeah, I think that's my only thing that I'm concerned about with it. I kind of wish this game the best. I feel like we need a competitor to Monster Hunter to kind of kick Capcom in the ass. And will this game be it? I don't know. We'll see. But all right, let's move on. Next game I have is the week after, which is Octopath Traveler 2 on the 24th of February. So, Octopath Traveler 1, I never beat it. I probably got, I don't
I
know.
thought you did beat it.
Nah, it's a big game, dude. I think I played 20 to 30 hours of it and it kind of fell off on me. So the reason it fell off on me though is that the story was not engaging enough between all the characters. So you have this giant party of like 7 characters, right? And they all had their own storyline, but those storylines really didn't intersect almost at all between the characters. So you would have one character who would be the main character in their story, and then the other characters would just kind of be there. They wouldn't say anything, they wouldn't interact, they wouldn't make any comments really. There were like very few little side conversations you could have between two characters maybe where they would have a little bit of that, but there was nothing in the actual like main narrative itself. So Octopath Traveler 2, what they showed of it kind of made it seem like they might be doing something a little bit more with that, because I think that was one of the more common criticisms of the first game. So that does have me a little intrigued, but I'm gonna be honest, like looking at it again, the um the structure of it just looks like they're kind of making the same game with like different characters and different environments.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how excited I am for this one, but I did want to talk about it just to kind of bring it up because I do think this one's coming out. I think this game's really under the radar right now, which I find surprising. So but we'll see.
I think they already have their core fan base. I think that core fan base is in the millions to where they don't really have to worry about like advertising the fuck out of this game. I
Hmm.
think it's gonna sell just based off being Square Enix RPG and a classic RPG at that,
Yeah.
and that the first game got such a it was well recepted by a lot of people. So
Hmm.
I think two is just coming out and it's just gonna come out. Still do push a lot of waves, push a lot of units, maybe 1 or 2 million units, maybe a little bit more than that. That's about it.
Fair enough. All right, let's move on to our next game. We both have this one is Wolong Fallen Dynasty on 3-3. Um kind of give me your pulse on this one. How are you feeling about it?
I cannot wait for this game, man. Every time I look at gameplay footage of this game, I'm so mad I missed out on a demo. There was a demo for like 10 days, and
Hmm.
I'm mad I missed out on it. Because every time I see gameplay of it, of people
Yeah.
playing that demo, I just like it looks like Team Ninja's gameplay, the Neo style or the Stranger in Paradise style, but like way better, way more fluid. Uh I don't know. It just looks really good. Like I don't know
Mhm.
what to say. It looks like almost like Sekiro meets Neo. Like it's
Yeah,
really good. Um, I feel like this game's gonna go under the radar for a lot of people. A lot of people don't know about this game for some reason, except for like the Soulsborne people and the Neo people
yeah,
and the action combat people. But even a lot of the action combat people, they don't know about this game coming out.
yeah,
So I saw God of War was like, oh, our new game plus is coming out in spring. I'm like, that's gonna be crazy because you got a huge lineup of games coming out. I mean, they already got their money,
yeah,
but like, no one's gonna be checking for Kratos, bro. Like, I'm playing Fallen Dynasty, and like,
yeah.
I mean that, yeah.
I
So
think it's interesting. This game's I haven't really actually watched gameplay of it, to be honest. But yeah, I think it's weird. Team Ninja's like really under the radar, dude. You know, it's and I think Stranger of Paradise unfortunately was such an unfortunate release for them that I think it actually damaged their reputation because Neo 1 and 2, I mean, I've said it a million times on this podcast, are like fucking two of the best games I've ever played, in my life. Like they're that good, and I think nobody knows it though. It's really frustrating to listen to the general games media population fucking talk about Neo because they don't fucking get it, dude. Like they don't get it. They think it's like they think it's like Dark Souls, and it's like not anywhere near that game. It's like it's got a similar structure and a statistical systems, but that is where the comparison ends, and it's so fucking annoying to me because like it's mischaracterized Team Ninja in a really unfortunate way that I think there's a lot of people who are missing out on their games. And this game, it kind of it's like you said, it kind of looks like more Neo. I don't know if it's going to be of that quality, to be honest. I mean, I'm looking at this gameplay right now. The game definitely doesn't look as polished, I guess, as Neo. Like Neo 2 is like just was like so fucking. It's like a perfect game in my opinion. This game looks a little rougher around the edges, but I mean, it still looks good though. I think it looks a lot better than Stranger Paradise. That's for damn sure. So we'll see. But
yeah, I'm
yeah,
actually on the opposite side of that. I think it looks way better than Neo. I think it's way more polished, way more. The action is way more just geared towards action, whereas Neo did have a lot of stats and everything like that. That didn't really affect your gameplay as much, but I feel like
yeah,
they kind of threw that away in this game and just focused straight on the
yeah.
action. And
You
I feel
think
like
this
the
is like
action
their
is,
Sekiro?
yeah, I think this is like way more polished, way more just focused for the action
Hmm.
side of stuff.
There's
I'm
still
actually also
statistics
getting
though.
tired of like, yeah, I mean, I'm actually tired of like the comparison to Dark Souls.
Yeah.
These games aren't Dark Souls games.
Hmm.
Uh, and Team Ninja has been making action games, way before Dark Souls
Yeah.
came out.
Right.
This game in Neo, to me, in my opinion, is more of a take on the Ninja Gaiden series, uh, but they revamped it a little bit.
Yeah.
Like that's what it is.
Yeah.
They just took modern concepts of like how the camera is displayed and everything like that, and they applied it to like their take on Ninja Gaiden. Because if anyone played the older Ninja Gaiden games and even like Dead or Alive and some of their older action games, they would know that Team Ninja they have quality. They've been having quality. That's why it's so weird. I know Neo is like probably your first experience with them, but like even outside of you, when people were talking about Team Ninja and how they just didn't view their games as quality, it was insane to me because they just ruled as
Yeah.
far as action
Action.
games
Yeah.
in quality. They ruled that genre. They were rivaling DMC, like they were rivaling Devil May
Hmm.
Cry and stuff like that, as
Yeah.
far as graphics and animations and everything like that nature. So when Neo came out, and I feel bad because I didn't give Neo a shot. Like I dropped the ball on that hard. I listened to the game's video on that.
Yeah.
And when I played Neo 2, I was like, holy fuck, this is the game I like really been wanting for like the last 10 years of
Yeah.
my life. Like this is
Yeah.
it. So when I look at Wulong Fallen Dynasty, I just look at them continuing that tradition or that legacy they have. And then it's another game they got coming out later
Yeah.
on.
That's the one I'm
I
excited about.
That's the one I'm excited about it too as well. So I thought this was going to be a Xbox exclusive, this Wulong Fallen Dynasty, because it came out. They showed it during the Xbox Expo, like the first time it got revealed,
but it is
but
not
it's not.
exclusive.
So
Yeah, yeah. I think it's the other one. I'm forgetting the name of it right now, but that open world, like it's like it looks like open world Neo, and I'm I'm that. We'll that one I don't think is coming out this year though. I think that's like 2024.
no, that was like I think they said 2024, 2023 or 2024.
Yeah, so yeah, we'll have to go along first. Yeah, this game does look good. I'm watching a boss fight right now. It's definitely got some interest. I think what I'm saying when I say it looks a little rougher on the edges is that the animations are not clean. Like some of them are not. They don't look finished. Like at least from what I'm seeing here, like there's some weirdness where the characters like kind of clipping and like almost like rubber banding a little. It's weird. So, but
Oh yeah, yeah,
when
yeah.
that's
I see
not
what you're
happening,
saying.
it does look really good. You know.
Yeah, and that was the demo that a lot of people were playing. So
Yeah. Yeah.
um, I do expect them to do a lot because they did this with Neo 2 where they had a demo and then they changed a lot from the Neo 2 demo to
Yeah.
like the actual fucking release of Neo 2.
Yeah.
So
But there looks to be a pretty robust skill system here, so this will be an interesting game. All right, let's move on. The next game we both have this one as well is Star Wars Jedi Survivor, which is coming on March 17th. Um, I mean, this is interesting because like Wolong is kind of that, it kind of looks like that, Sekiro, Dark Souls action style. And then you get Jedi Survivor, which is kind of that Sekiro style as well with like the parry bar and all that stuff. So it is interesting that these games are coming out so close to each other. But I doubt Star Wars, has much to worry about. EA and Respawn probably don't have much to worry about there in terms of competition. But um, from what we've seen of this game, I mean, it kind of looks like just an extended more robust version of the first game. There's more. I think there's more to the combat, or there's going to be more to the combat, which is good because I do think the first game was a little basic, and what they
mhm.
were doing with that game. So I'm excited about it in that sense. I'm definitely excited about it from a story perspective. I think for the most part, Fallen Order was a very good Star Wars entry in the Star Wars universe. I think there was a solid story there that was very enjoyable to experience, and I'm definitely
Mhm.
looking forward to kind of getting more from Cal and seeing more kind of in the like the outer side of the empire, like what's going on outside of the rebels and all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I feel like I am more interested in the story, more so. Like I think the gameplay, I already know the gameplay is going to be really good. I don't have any kind of doubts about that. Uh, but I am more interested in where this story is going to take place, where they're going with the story, uh, and how it's going to tie into the whole overall series. Because I mean, everything that they do, they say it's canon. So I'm interested in seeing if they even may bring the fucking actor himself into the cinematic universes and stuff like that. So I'm very interested in this franchise
that would be
overall.
that would be interesting because the character looks exactly like the guy who plays him.
Exactly like him. Yeah.
They did a full like body, transition into the game. So, yeah, that would be interesting. I almost feel like that would be too much, but that would be kind of cool to see though, a video game inspiring television or movie content, which has very not happened as much. But having that happen in Star Wars specifically would be a really cool thing, actually, in my opinion. So that'd be interesting. But it does look good. I'm expecting it to be a very solid game at worst. So, um, we'll see what that's all about in March. All right, the next game you have is Resident Evil 4 Remake on March 24th. How are you feeling about this one? Carrying
So
chainsaws with knives, baby. Let's go.
yeah, and you know what? It sounds dumb, but I was hoping they had like the quirky shit in there like this. That's what made the original Resident Evils kind of spark. They had this dumb quirkiness to them. Um, I was I was a little bit worried with the Resident Evil 2 remake, that they went a little bit too realistic with it.
Mhm.
where we don't get that corniness that's in there. And I
Mhm.
look in Resident Evil 4 remake, it looks like they're keeping some of that while maintaining like this kind of more Western style theme they're going with with Resident Evil in general, making it more serious and everything of that nature. So, um, with that being said, the you laugh about it, but the chainsaw knife parry thing was what sold me. I was like, oh,
No,
okay,
I
we're
know. I know. No, I know. I mean that it like proved that they weren't going away from that goofy shit, like
yeah,
and that's what Resident Evil 4 is kind of remembered for, as much as people love the gameplay and everything. It's my understanding of it is like it's a goofy game, like there's some
yeah.
funny shit in there.
Yeah, so I'm interested in seeing what they're doing with the new actor and everything like that, and how his take on Leon. Because the original, or I mean, Resident Evil 2, rather, even the remake and the original, Leon was still very serious because he was a rookie. Where Resident Evil 4, Leon started getting into like kind of jokey a little bit because he's been around this shit for like years now, and I'm interested in seeing what they do with this Leon to see if he's is as experienced and as jokey, or is he going to be a little bit more on the serious side of things.
Hmm.
So I, I'm just waiting for it to see. I still don't think the remake or the original needed a remake, but I am interested in seeing what they're doing with it.
All right, fair enough. Let's move on to our next game, which we both have. Is Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection. So I've never played any of these games, which is why I have it on my list. Because I think I have done myself a disservice by not doing that. Um, I don't know. I'm gonna be honest. 6 games or 7 games or 8 games, however many there are in this collection. I don't think I'm probably not gonna play all of them, but I definitely need to at least check this series out. Because I do think it's probably it seems like a game series that's like right up my alley. So, and what they've done with the previous Legacy collections has been such high quality that it's kind of hard to pass this up at this point. To be honest, so I'm excited about this one. What about you?
Yeah, it was a really interesting take on Mega Man. You're on this grid and it's like an action RPG, but you shoot from each side of the grid. Like you have your side of the grid and they have their side of the grid.
Hmm.
And it's just a really interesting take on like boss fights and everything of that nature. From the combat to from the moment to moment combat is just really interesting. It's really fast paced. It's still Mega Man, but the way they did it is just really weird, and I like it. I like how they did it. They still maintain Mega Man, and I'm really interested when you play it to see if you
Hmm.
see that element of Mega Man and RPG in it. It's really cool
Mm,
how they did it, actually. So,
mhm,
I actually was almost like you. I missed this. I came on the tail end of the GBA era. This was like $5 at GameStop when I bought it,
mhm.
and I bought it and I played it and I was like, holy shit. And I bought like all of them. I didn't play all of them, but I played like 3 of them after that. And yeah, it is one of these franchises that slept on as far as Mega Man.
Yeah. Yep. Fair enough. All right. Let's move on to our next game. And this might be maybe not for us, but in general, this may be the biggest game of the year next year. Is The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom coming on May 12th. Montreal, first question. Do you think they're hitting that May 12th date?
um, that's a good question. If they don't show any gameplay by February, no.
Yeah, like a real gameplay trailer.
Yeah, like a real gameplay trailer. If they don't show any gameplay by February, then no. I don't think it's gonna
I'll
happen.
give them till March, like mid
You give them
March.
to March? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think if they haven't shown anything extensive before the middle of March, I think the game's in trouble, like in terms of coming out. I'm not saying the game's going to be bad. I'm saying like I think it's in trouble in the sense of coming out on May 12th. But other than that, I mean, outside of that, I mean, how are you feeling about this game? I mean, there's not much to say, I guess, because we haven't really seen any gameplay or anything. Um, like this is just kind of sneaking up on us. It's less than 6 months out at this point.
Did they do this for the original Breath of the Wild? No, they
No,
showed
dude,
gameplay.
no. Remember the E3
Yeah.
before Breath of the Wild came out, dude, was Nintendo's E3 was entirely dedicated to Breath of the Wild. That is the only game they showed. It was the only game they talked about at that E3. They literally had every fucking press outlet play the game for like 2 hours, and like do previews of it. Like it was a fucking blowout. So their approach to this one is like the total opposite in this regard because they do like they've shown us nothing. We don't know it. Like honestly, beyond that trailer they showed us a few months ago, like we know nothing about this game. Like, so
Yeah. So I think the main thing that we need to know is the gameplay. I don't think people really care about, I mean, the story or anything like that.
mhm.
Um you know what? I don't even think it's the gameplay itself. I think people are expecting a graphical upgrade. And I think that's going to be people's biggest downfall at this game.
Mhm.
If this game looks good, then hats off to Nintendo for on the Switch, bro. Like hats off to you. Um but if it doesn't, I don't think that should be a knock against them. The team who made this game,
Yeah.
because they are working off of like what 6-year-old hardware at this time.
Well,
It's 6
right.
years
I was
old.
gonna bring that up. Is that March 1st is the 6-year anniversary of the Switch coming out and Breath of the Wild coming out, and this game is coming out 2 months after that. So that is 6 years and 2 months between games. And obviously we've had all these rumors of a Switch Pro, a new Switch, like a second Switch coming out, like a new piece of hardware, and I do think it's very interesting to see how Nintendo's year shakes out because I feel like we have to get some kind of new hardware this year for Nintendo, right? Something.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think that I think the Switch this past year has really shown the Switch is struggling, at this point.
That's
Like
it's not even struggling.
it,
It's 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 barely hanging on.
yeah.
Like it's
No,
not
for
even
real.
struggle anymore.
Like, dude,
Like
Arceus at the beginning of the year which is hilarious in retrospect because that game actually runs well relative to like the Pokemon that just came out in November with Scarlet and Violet. But like even Arceus though, that game is a giant empty like blob of a game, like and it doesn't look good, but then it makes Scarlet and Violet look fucking like comparatively Scarlet and Violet make it look like a fucking immaculate game, with the way it runs because it didn't really have like hardware issues at technical issues as much. But yeah, Scarlet and Violet coming out in the way they did. This is my thing with Zelda. Like if they go bigger with this game than they did with Breath of the Wild, I'm a little concerned that they're gonna have the same problems that Pokemon had or is having now, where we have technical issues. Because I do want to point out, nobody talks about this, but the original Breath of the Wild does have issues, like technical issues. It has frame rate dips and whatnot when you are playing in handheld mode,
mhm.
and in docked mode. It happens. I believe it happens more in dock mode than handheld mode, but it happens in both, and they never fix that completely. So, I don't know. I don't know if the Switch is up to what they want to make with the Zelda game, but it does make me wonder: is Nintendo hiding a hardware reveal in the next 5 months? That will this game be coming out with a new piece of hardware? Maybe. Who knows?
Yeah. The reason I have faith in it, to be honest with you, is not because of I mean, obviously the Zelda team's really good at what they do. Um, like whoever the producer, I think the guy who runs the Zelda team, they do really good jobs in making Zeldas. As much as we say we don't like Zelda games, they're still good within their own stratosphere. Like when I say I don't like a Zelda game, y'all, I say between Zeldas. Like other games, Zelda is still there on top, to be
Mm-hmm.
honest with you. If you want to be really honest, like the quality's still there and everything of that nature.
Yeah.
Uh, but that being said, we've read rumors on here or articles on this podcast about Monolith Soft helping them with the game, helping them with this new Zelda. And from playing Xenoblade Chronicles 3, even that game dips, but it's not as bad as like other Switch games.
Yeah.
That game, even if you go in Digital Foundry right now, people like they are saying this game's like a technical marvel. What they did with this fucking
There's a
game.
lot going on in that game. Like, dude, that game world is very complex for a Switch open world. Like all the screenshots comparing it to Pokemon, it's like embarrassing, you know? It's like totally embarrassing. And I think Monolith Soft is like a technical prowess that a lot of studios just do not have. The shit that they are putting out on Switch is like of a level that is like insane, right? Comparatively speaking. So
Yeah.
I would expect them to be helping with this game, to be honest, because they it is, I mean, it is literally confirmed that they helped with Breath of the Wild, you know.
Yeah.
So I would be surprised if they're not helping here as well, but it may be more of a challenge this time. If this game is bigger, there's more going on, there's more assets out there, like the you
Hmm.
know, with all these like floating islands and shit, that is gonna take up more. It's gonna be harder for the game to keep that rendered than just an open skybox, you know. So that's gonna be an interesting thing. So I don't know. I mean, I think the other
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I'll say like one more thing. I think the islands thing is gonna be an interesting concept.
Hmm.
I think that can hide a lot of stuff. Because if you can have a smaller open world island with a lot more shit going on, that's way better than having the worlds that were on Zelda Breath of the Wild, where it was like a huge field. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
If you can condense all that down to like some little fun boxes here and there for
Yeah,
people to do,
yeah,
that could potentially be way better than the first Breath of the Wild.
yeah.
So I don't know. It's interesting.
I'm interested to see too. The other thing is, I think you and I are both, you know, Breath of the Wild. We don't hate it, but it's not our Zelda, right? Like what we want out of
Yeah.
Zelda. That's the other thing I want to see is, do they throw us a bone with this game, or do they just lean all the way into what Breath of the Wild was? You know,
Yeah.
that's kind of my that's the thing I'm most curious about. So we'll see, but I'm sure it's going to get 10 out of 10s everywhere, regardless of how good it is. So we shall see. All right, let's move on. Next game is we both have this as well. Is Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League? This is coming on May 26th. Montrell, this is another one. You think it's gonna make it that? You think it's gonna hit that May 26th date?
Yes. I don't know why I have a weird feeling that it will. I feel like they've been really, really tame as far
Hmm.
as showing this game.
Yeah.
Um, Comparative to other action game or superhero games and everything of that nature,
Hmm.
they just been really tame with showing what's going on in this game.
Hmm.
I'm actually very tame at when to play this game. I'm gonna let it bake for about a
Yeah.
month before I buy it.
Yeah.
Um, because I'm actually when they showed the initial gameplay for it, I was actually really into it, um, a lot actually. But I don't want the whole Avengers thing. I don't want it to be a Destiny Avengers live service thing, and I can't remember if they said this was going to be a live service game or not.
They, I don't. I think
Uh,
they said no, but
okay,
I think it's just a
yeah,
co-op single player game.
just co-op single player. Okay, yeah, that I
Hmm.
mean, and that's ultimately what I want. If I can co-op it with you or like four other people while we're playing the game, that would be
But
fucking
we
cool.
saw what happened
Like,
with Gotham Knights, man. I mean, look, I mean, Rocksteady's not that team, so I
yeah,
expect a higher quality game. However, I, we Arkham Knight came out before this podcast was ever even thought of, and I would have been one of the loudest haters of that game imaginable at the time. So I don't like Arkham Knight very much at all. Like I think it's a bad. I don't think it's necessarily a bad game, but it is as close to being bad as you can get without actually being bad. Like like I did not like that game, honestly. So I'm kind of, and I mean, it's been 7 years, or it'll have been 8 years by the time this game comes out, which is a fucking long time for a game to be in development, dude. And that to me, I don't know. I'm with you. I'm gonna wait. It's gonna come out. I'm gonna let it sit for like a month or two and see where it lands and see if it's for me. And I mean, I will probably pick it up. I love I really like DC, and I like Suicide Squad. I like Batman. I have definitely warmed up to Superman. I like the Flash. Like I like a lot of these characters, and seeing seeing the script flipped where you are playing the bad guys trying to defeat the good guys who are actually the bad guys, like, is a really interesting concept in a comic book game. So I'm probably gonna get it. I'm probably gonna play it, but I'm not like hyper confident that it's gonna be like an amazing game. You know,
Yeah,
I need to
yeah,
see. So, but I do think it's coming out though on the 26th. I do
yeah. I
believe
mean, this game's been cooking for a while. They had more than enough time to get everything they needed out of this game. As far as like bugs, pretty sure we get still gonna encounter some, but they had more than enough time.
Well, dude, if
Um,
they delay it again, I'm actually worried about this game if that happens. Like, I think it might be in trouble.
yeah, yeah,
So, but all right, let's move on to our next game. We both have this one as well, and this might be one of the bigger games of the year this year. Outside of Zelda, is Diablo 4 on June 6th, coming to PS5, Xbox, PC. Montrell, where you at with this one? Because our friends that are Diablo 2 mega nerds are not they're not that high on this right now.
You know what? So there's this other guy that gets recommended me to me a lot since I watch a lot of Blizzard shit, or I guess
Mm.
the algorithm still kind of listens to me. It's called Bellier Gaming, and
Bellular,
he had a
yeah.
whole Bellier. He had a whole bunch of like negative news, like 2 hour videos on this game, and I guess like the team surrounding the game and their
Mm.
confidence in the game and everything of that nature. Um, which is interesting because then I hear other people talk that I trust on YouTube about the game. They had a chance to sample the game. They played it for about that first I think 10 hours of the game or some shit like that. The first
Yeah.
world that it lands you're in. They said they absolutely loved it. Um, but my thing is it going to be like it was another game that did that where that part of the game was the only part done, and then everything else was like trash.
Hmm.
Uh, and my thing is Diablo 4 gonna is they cannot do that with this game. Like this game has to be done.
Like
I
unfinished,
have
release an unfinished game. Yeah.
yeah, they can't do this. Like I have a weird amount of confidence in this game that this game's
I
gonna
do
be
too.
polished
I
and
don't know
good.
why. I don't know why. I because this is the thing that's been in my head, like thinking about this while you've been talking. Is like I think of our friend group. I have this weird feeling that I am going to be the one that likes this game the most. Which I would not have said that a year ago or 2 years ago, to be honest with you. But everything they've shown of like the gameplay systems and everything, like I think they're on the right path. Like I do. I actually think they're on the right path. I know look, we've talked about Blizzard so much on this podcast. Like dude, guys, if you've not listened to all of our shows, like you can go back. There's so much Blizzard talk in there, but like I don't know why Diablo 4, I'm like you said, weirdly confident in it. I for some reason just feel like they're gonna hit it with this one. And I think part of that is Overwatch 2, we played it, and we've been taking the piss out of Overwatch for years on this show, and DJ's always fucking sending us audio messages about, why we don't know what we're talking about. But we gave Overwatch 2 a shot, and while we're not like obsessed with it, I gotta give them credit though, where credit is due, that it's a quality game. It's well made, it's polished, it plays well. It is not a fucking mess, despite what the first week of the game's launch looked like. By the time we started playing it, which I don't even think was a week after the game came out, all those issues were
Yeah,
totally resolved. Like
yeah,
we didn't have any queue problems, we didn't have any like disconnect issues really. Like the game fucking just worked in my from my perspective for the most part. And so I think that heightened my confidence in Blizzard overall. And to be honest, that game, I think in terms of a monetization model, I know like the community in Overwatch hates it, but it's a monetization model for me that is like it's like Fortnite Apex where it's so easy to ignore that I literally never thought about buying a single thing in Overwatch, like they were never getting my
hmm
money. in that game, unless I got like hyper into the game, which we never got deep enough into it that I'm like, I want to spend money on this game, you know? So, um, given that, I think they've learned a thing or two about monetization in a positive way where they don't ruin their games with it the way they used to before, like they the way they were like for the last like 10 years. Um, I don't think the monetization in Diablo 4 is going to be aggressive enough where it's going to ruin the game. You know, there won't be a real money auction house. I don't think they're going to sell character power. It's going to be cosmetic only, which could be bad if the game doesn't have good looking cosmetics that are freely obtainable. That is a problem. But um, if the gameplay systems are deep enough though and strong enough, and the RPG mechanics are there in a way that is sort of like Grim Dawn or Path of Exile for me, dude, this
Mhm.
game could be a fucking home run, you know, honestly. So we shall see.
Yeah, and my take on it is a little bit more shallow than that.
Yeah.
My take is, I think they know this is their last shot.
Yeah.
Like, this is their last
Yeah.
shot before everybody, like their hardcore fans, really,
Jump ship.
kind of just jump ship. Yeah, just kind of give up on it, and then all you will have is Overwatch and World of Warcraft, which will be money sinks. Or they can bleed some money off of it for a while, and then after that, what else do you have? Diablo to me is going to be their skills as far as a game developer. And I know you may say like, well, Overwatch 2 is a video game, and World of Warcraft 2 is a video, or World of Warcraft is a video game, and it's like yes, but these games have been long standing for a while, and they had a formula that's kind of easy to do, in my opinion. Um, Now, when I say like Overwatch 2, Overwatch in general is not easy to do because the way they balance that game is incredible. Um, the way they make you have fun with the not make you have fun, but you have fun with the game while being
Have
competitive.
fun, damn it.
Yeah, it's like the way you have fun with the game and being competitive with the game is actually incredible. It's almost like attuned to like League of Legends, to where we are competitive as fuck with that game, but you still have fun to
Yeah.
compared to like Apex, right, or like
Yeah.
Call of Duty or whatever.
It's not
Um,
toxic the way those games
yeah,
are.
it's not toxic. There you go. And uh like you said before, it's a quality game. Overwatch was a quality game. um and even when I played Diablo 3, I played Diablo 3 after all the bullshit,
Mm.
and DJ and my friend Tori had a ton of fun playing this shit on the PS3. It was
Well,
so much
you
fucking
were playing
fun.
Reaper's Souls, right? Probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah. Let me. I want to speak to that real quick because I think this is an important distinction with this is the reason why I'm confident in them is because Diablo 3's gameplay, like the mechanical gameplay of controlling your character, doing attacks, moving around, fighting enemies, that is the peak of the ARPG genre. No game.
Yes.
No, I'm not. I'm like it's not even close. By the way, like there is no ARPG that has ever approached Diablo 3 from that standpoint, right? Like Grim Dawn's not even in the same stratosphere. Neither is Path of Exile, and those games are popular as fuck, right? That's my point here is that they have proven that they can make an ARPG game that can't be rivaled on that front. The issue with Diablo 3 is that it wasn't an RPG. They streamlined the game so heavily that leveling was a pointless time sink. Building your character was like one of the most shallow things imaginable. Even when
Yeah.
you get to Reaper of Souls, it was still shallow. They
Yep.
made it better, but it wasn't the point I wanted it to be at, which they were never going to do that. This is my point: is what they've shown to Diablo 4 is that it looks like a fucking RPG. There's like skill trees and there's character skill trees. There also seems to be a Paragon like system, like kind of taken from Grim Dawn, where they had the like Grim Dawn has these like constellations you can slot in that give you like stats and skills, passive skills, and things like
Yeah.
that. It seems like they're going to have a system like that, which is similar or almost like the passive tree from Path of Exile, right? They're going to have something like that in the game. The itemization looks deeper. It looks a little bit more thoughtful. There's going to be more impactful choices you will be able to make with your character in the game. So if you marry that, right, which is why I love Grim Dawn and why I got into Path of Exile, those two things, and you marry that with gameplay that those games don't have, in like Diablo 3 level gameplay, or maybe even better, bro, I mean, that this is why I haven't like expressed this to our friends because I think they're really down on the game right now, and I also don't want to get my hopes up that we like all fucking jump in this game and love it. But dude,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm telling you, if they hit it right, like this could be the best ARPG ever fucking made. And I don't know. I'm like tentatively hopeful that that's what we get. I really am.
No,
Um,
and I'm the same way. I think coming from, so I wasn't a huge ARPG guy. So then when I jumped into Reaper of Souls with my friends, I absolutely loved it. But I didn't understand the hate for it until I got a little bit deeper into it, and I saw Path of Exile. I met y'all, and then y'all explained like why y'all like Grim Dawn compared to like Diablo 3 and then Diablo 2, why y'all love
right.
Diablo 2 and everything of that nature. I couldn't get into those games was because I personally, just my personal opinion, I thought the gameplay kind of sucked. I was just
Yeah,
like,
no,
and this is just me coming from
this is
like
you're totally
Diablo
right.
3. I
You're
was like,
totally right. You're totally right. No argument from me, dude. I know Jet and Brad would disagree with Diablo 2, but bro, Diablo 2's gameplay sucks. Like I don't know what fucking glasses they're wearing that they think that game. But then again, they love EverQuest too. So I don't like whatever.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
they don't mind that old school feel. Like we've played enough modern games, you and I, like especially single player stuff that has such high quality gameplay. Like bro, I played Neo and Neo 2. Like those games are so fucking tight, and it's like these ARPGs we're talking about are like pathetic in comparison. Like they
Yeah.
got nothing on that kind of gameplay, which is my point about Diablo, is that I think Diablo 3 was up there in that conversation.
Hmm.
So dude, if they can do
Yeah,
that, we're good.
and that's all I wanted from an ARPG. If I can get both, like that itemization, because
Yeah.
I actually like doing shit like that. Like me playing Ion, I figured out that I like doing that type of shit. I've been doing that type of shit with other games, but it mainly been single player games.
Yeah.
But like and I've been playing MMOs, but I played WoW. The itemization there is really deep, but I never got super deep because I never had a group of friends to do it with.
Mm-hmm.
The deepest I've got is maybe like Final Fantasy 14. But like playing Ion with a group of friends that kind of motivates you, gives you tips, and you can do that like that raid or not the raid that we did, but that dungeon we did
Yeah.
or whatever,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That
Farthing.
shit was just fun as fuck. And then we had to items itemize our stuff and put mana slots in this mana stones and slots, and it made my character significantly different and everything like that. Like I like shit like that, and I'm like, man, I can see the hours I synced into this character. I can see it.
Yeah.
And if I get that in Diablo, that's always what I wanted from a game. Like I didn't get that from Destiny. I wanted that from Destiny. I didn't get that from Destiny.
Yeah.
And Diablo 3 kind of had the Destiny mantra before Destiny came out.
Yeah.
So it was like, if I can get that from Diablo 4, which it looks like they're doing, then this is the perfect game. And that's why I feel weirdly optimistic about it. Like I know we're
Mm-hmm.
always like kind of we're not hyper negative, but we're always like
Yeah. We
cautiously,
are. We're pretty negative
yeah,
about
okay.
Blizzard.
We're pretty negative about Blizzard, but I'm just about video games coming out in
Oh yeah.
general.
Yeah.
Um, we're kind of cautiously optimistic towards games, but like this one, I'm like really optimistic towards it because
Yeah.
not only the gameplay side, but I feel like I said, this is Blizzard's last reputation as a game developer. They have to stand on that because while me and you and other people may be okay with Overwatch 2, the Overwatch community from Overwatch 1 who played it from 2016 up until now hate Overwatch 2. They fucking hate it. You go on any YouTube video right now with Overwatch 2 content, the
That's
it's
funny,
a
man.
fucking disaster right
Yeah.
now for
Yeah.
them. And I don't know if I don't even know I don't even know if DJ feels the same way. I love Overwatch 2, but like from the monetization standpoint of it, everyone hates it. Like they're just like, yo,
They want
I
the loot
I don't want the
boxes
battle
back.
pass. Yeah, they want the loot boxes back and everything like that.
That's crazy.
So like Blizzard is just getting it from all ends right now. I don't know about the WoW community. I mean, obviously the only person I have is a gauge that is Andy, and he loves WoW. So I think they're okay. But like,
Yeah, I think this latest expansion, I don't know, it seems to have been a good one, maybe.
yeah,
Which it's been, I think it's been like 3 expansions since WoW had a good one. So maybe they were
but
due, but yeah.
I think a lot of people are just in games in general, I don't want to harp on this too longer, but just in games in general, I think the trend is going back towards that almost like hardcore casual audience. They realize that casuals can be kind of hardcore in the moment, and I feel like WoW is going back to that because you remember they went super casual with WoW. It was
Yeah.
just like they removed skill
They did
trees,
that with everything,
talents,
bro.
like
Yeah, dude.
it was just a disaster, and now they're moving back towards that. And I think a
Well,
lot of games are actually moving back towards that because they
yeah.
feel like this is what these kids want.
Well,
And I want that,
yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah,
I don't
Diablo
know.
3 was the center of that whole movement, dude. Like the casualization of games that were hardcore, like the
Yeah.
or what you would consider hardcore, what the mainstream might consider hardcore, right? Like Diablo 2
Yeah.
is considered a hardcore game, and to me it's not really that hardcore actually, but like I think the thing is like I know Brad and Jet would get so mad at me for saying this shit, but dude, I don't think it's that deep of a game, to be honest. Like it's kind of a boring, this is the reason I didn't stick with me. I think it's a really boring game. Like you don't do anything other than you go fight enemies, and like you building your character in that game is like I feel like is already decided for the most part. Like you decide
Yeah.
what ability you want to use, and you like max that out, and there aren't meaningful choices around your character in that game. To me it's like there's like a optimal path to doing it. And I know Jet would yell at me about Grim Dawn, and Grim Dawn's the same way, but Grim Dawn has more choices that you can make than Diablo 2 has. So that's why it appeals to me more.
Yeah.
Um but Diablo 3 like went so far the opposite, right? It just took out any choice whatsoever beyond what ability loadout you have, and the game is like mindless. Like you were talking about Destiny, right? Like Diablo 3 is the reason we have Destiny in the form it is now. The reason we have games like that, live service games like Destiny, right? Like that game fucking spawned an entire like live service model, and they're other people like other companies are thriving off of it, where Blizzard was the one that ended up fucking it up and failing with it, which is kind of hilarious to think about because D3 was the one that did it first.
Yeah.
But I think the thing is they did it in the wrong genre, dude. Shooters it worked for. ARPGs was not the place to do it because I think Blizzard learned this over the years since, which is why they're designing this game in the way they are. Is that the ARPG community is some of the most hardcore gaming is one of the most hardcore gaming communities out there in terms of the complexity they want out of their games. They want these deep fucking nerdy statistical systems. They want these deep gearing systems where you put like fucking 5 enhancements on your gear, for each gear slot, and they want these fucking like giant talent trees and skill trees and all the multi-classing and all this bullshit, like hyper complicated shit. They want their game to be like hyper complicated. That's what ARPG gamers kind of want, dude. And that I think that's what Blizzard has learned watching Path of Exile and Grim Dawn fucking kind of explode, in the interim
Yeah.
between
Yep.
these two games coming out. And it's like, it's obvious that's where the movement is with ARPGs. Like that is the genre right now, dude. Is it is a complex genre. It has got a high barrier for entry, but once you're in, you're in, It's kind of like Monster Hunter, in that way. It's like
That's a good comparison. Yeah.
which I know I just said that, right? It's like Monster Hunter. But in
But
the
no,
way of
you're right.
that,
You're
like
right.
that barrier to entry though is there. It's always been there for both for like both of those types of games. But that's always been the thing, is once somebody gets over that hump though and they get it, right? It all clicks. Like you're fucking done, dude. You're in. Like you're a lifer at that point. Like they got you, bro. Like the game has got you. And ARPGs are like that, man. Like they just are. Like, and I think it's a surprisingly popular genre right now. I think Path of Exile saved it, probably. Ultimately, like that game really did, I think, save it. And then I think Grim Dawn came in behind them and like reinforced that that kind of movement with it. Because
Hmm.
I mean, Grim Dawn at this point has sold multiple millions of copies, which for a studio like Crate is fucking insane. Like I just like I cannot help but reiterate how tiny of an indie company they are. They're not associated with a publisher. They aren't associated with anybody that could make their game sell that much, and yet they still sold that much. And that tells you kind of where the genre is. People like are willing to search for something like that. because it's just not it hadn't been out there for a while. There was a period of time where it just wasn't out there, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I mean, we talked about Diablo 4 for a while. We both think it
Yeah.
looks good. We're excited about it. It's coming out on June 6th. Um, we will certainly talk about it on the show. I'm probably buying it day one, more than likely.
Yeah, I am too. I'm
Um,
gonna buy it day one. So
so looking forward to it. All right, Montrell, let's move on to another game that I think we're both highly anticipating, which is Final Fantasy 16. This is the last game on this list with a date, which is June 22nd. Whew. Okay, out of everything on this list, I know we were just talking about how excited we are for Diablo 4, Hogwarts Legacy. I think we're both very excited for, but I think this game might be the one I'm anticipating more than any other on this list. Um, I'm not a big Final Fantasy guy. I never have been, but Yoshi P has converted me with Final Fantasy 14. That man, what he did with that game and his team did with that fucking game is it is one of the greatest things I have ever experienced in video games. And I know that sounds hyperbolic as fuck, but dude, the month to 2 months we spent last year playing that game and like doing like blasting through the story, or at least that I did blasting through the story, is some of the most fun I've fucking ever had in a game. Like I fucking love Final Fantasy 14's narrative. Like I love it so much, and I enjoyed almost every second of it. I know there are down points that I kind of talk shit about a little bit, but dude, even like Stormblood is fucking good. Like it's fun and enjoyable, right? So he being the director of Final Fantasy 16, like just I'm just a believer. I'm a Yoshi P acolyte, bro. Like I just am.
no, like he did do a good job. I usually play MMOs, not for the story, but for the gameplay and the complexity of them and everything of that nature.
Yeah.
Um, Final Fantasy 14, I will be honest with you, was the first game I actually was the first MMO rather I played it. I paid attention to for the story. It was
Hmm.
that good.
Yeah.
Um, I'm going into Shadowbringers, uh, which I'm kind of disappointed that I didn't get a chance to play it over my for my vacation because I've been playing Ion.
It's okay, man.
Um,
Dude,
uh,
it's not going anywhere though. That's the great
yeah,
part about Final Fantasy
exactly. It's not
14.
going
It's never
anywhere.
going anywhere. So
Yeah, so
yeah.
I'm gonna play it. But Heaven Sword was some good shit. And man, like I tell everybody, like if you don't want to play Final Fantasy, just if you're on the fence about it, just go back and play Heaven Sword because that was some good ass content. Um, and then now that he's taking the helm of Final Fantasy 16, it's gonna have that complexity as far as like the nuance, and I'm hoping it still has that story element, that Game of Thrones esque type shit that was actually in Heaven Sword. It wasn't even Game of Thrones type; it was just political shit, and it was just like
Mm,
really well done.
mm-hmm.
Uh, um, and I'm hoping like this has the same thing. Yeah, because let's be honest, like I know everybody wants to think Final Fantasy X's fucking story is just super fucking deep. It's not. It's not. It's anime bullshit. Like
Oh yeah.
it's still Final Fantasy bullshit. 13 was the same thing to me. It was like it's still Final Fantasy. It was like melodrama. Final Fantasy has always been a melodramatic series, but the first I actually heard because I didn't play the first couple of six, the first six. I heard the
Mm-hmm.
first six like had a really deep story. Like it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't that melodrama shit. It was like really political shit in there.
Yeah.
And then it kind of Final Fantasy 7 went in another direction, which is interesting. When you play Final Fantasy 7, you can still see the political shit in there, but it's not as present in there. It's especially present in Crisis Core, the
Mm-hmm.
political shit that goes on in that game.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I, I I was really disappointed in Final Fantasy 15. Final Fantasy 16 though, looks like it's going to have that story element. I know a lot of people are going to be upset with this game. Um, and the reason why I say a lot of people are going to be upset, I think because it's not going to be an RPG.
Right.
It's going to be an RPG, but like not. It's going to be an action game with RPG elements. Um, it's totally going away from what Final Fantasy was, which was an RPG. Um, but I think 15 solidified that. To be honest with you,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. I
so
agree. I think I think the thing that I'm interested in the most in this game is what you just said, right? Like how much RPG is in this game. Because they haven't shown much of that side of things really so far in their marketing material, which I do think is interesting. I don't think it matters for me because I don't think Final Fantasy as an RPG has ever really been that interesting of a series. But I know for some people that is not true and they love the RPG side of Final Fantasy, but um
Hmm.
so I'll be interested to see how deep they go. Is it Final Fantasy 15 shallow, or is it kind of more like Final Fantasy 7 remake, maybe, which was pretty light on the RPG mechanics, but it was there enough that it felt like a Final Fantasy game, right? So I don't know. It's kind of an interesting thought. I guess we'll find out. But I mean, in terms of gameplay, it looks strong. So stronger than I've ever seen out of a Final Fantasy game.
Yeah,
And I love Final Fantasy VII Remake, but it looks better than that. So, um, that is to me that's kind of saying something. But you know, it looks that good from an action standpoint.
yeah, and I want to let people know like the action and RPG thing can work. Crisis Core kind of I figured it out with Crisis Core. Playing hard mode, like you have to use the RPG element. You have to give Zach certain stat boost
Yeah.
and everything of that nature. You have to build him a certain way. You have to materia fuse certain things to get certain stats to
Mm-hmm.
do certain things, and those numbers will go up. You just can't do action shit. You have to actually play the RPG side of the game. So if they take it from that aspect of like what Crisis Core was doing, um, then yeah, I think this can be the perfect blend of like action and
Mm-hmm.
RPG elements. I mean, so we can say like Kingdom Hearts is an RPG, but I mean, let's be honest, it's not really.
No, it's not.
Yeah. So
It's never been about that. Like,
yeah. So whereas when I play like Crisis Core and like some other little action games, stuff like that, maybe even like some of the Tales games, not all of them, but a lot of the Tales games, they have action elements to them. A lot of action elements, but they are RPG at the heart because you have to focus on certain stats. Um, I think like this game could be a really good game as
mhm.
far as that. Give both the RPG side and both the flashiness side. I bet you the flashiness side is going to be reserved for like the normal easy difficulties, but then you're going to have to learn the RPG side of shit once you get into hard mode and extra very hard mode or whatever the case may be. um Almost like a Neo type deal, because
Mhm.
Neo 2, I think that's another game that does RPG and action very well. You can be really good at action game, but if you don't study the RPG elements of Neo 2, then you probably won't get too far in the
It's a
game.
very deep RPG. Yeah.
Yeah. So um
It's always
yeah, and
it's a hard marriage to pull off though. Like action games always struggle with this.
yeah, yeah,
It's very
only few
easy. It's
action
very
games
easy
do it.
for things to get out of control in one direction or the other, whether it makes the game too easy or too hard. And getting it to the point where it's satisfying, where you feel like your character is built well. That is something that's always been difficult for action RPGs to me.
Yeah.
So, or
I
these
mean,
kind of
and
action RPGs, these third person ones.
I'm not really too worried. The guy who's the combat director for this game
Mm-hmm.
did Dragon's Dogma, which is an action game, but to me, it's more of an RPG game first. You have to build your party around certain things and everything of that nature. Um, I went into Dragon's Dogma thinking it was an action game, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not. It's almost like a C. To me, Dragon's Dogma is like the first CRPG action game. That's how it plays. It's weird as fuck to say, but that's how it
Isn't
plays
that
to
like
me.
how Inquisition is, like Dragon Age? Both.
Uh, Sort of, kind of, yeah, yeah.
Okay,
But it's
but
more so, but
Dragon's
more
Dogma
so.
came out first, though, didn't it?
I think so. I'm not
Okay.
sure. Like to
Okay.
me, it's more so like really action heavy, but like with CRPG elements to it.
Yeah.
But you don't pause time or anything like that. You just have a party that you have to build and everything of that nature, and you
Mm-hmm.
have these characters and everything like that.
Got it.
And everything works well together. So that's why I think coming to Final Fantasy 16. That being said, I think they're gonna do the perfect blend of action and RPG. So I think everybody will get their just desserts out this game.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I think it looks fantastic. I'm looking forward to the story more than anything, probably. But no, this looks like a. I mean, it looks like it's going to be a mature game. You know, not pulling any punches. So I'm looking forward to that too. So, all right, let's move on. We got a lot more games still to go through. This section is games that are announced for 2023, but we don't have release dates. So I'm gonna kind of go back and forth between mine and Montrell's lists. Mine is longer by a lot, so we'll start with me. So the first one I have here is Arcadian Atlas. This one is a indie game that was a kickstarted game, and it was successfully kickstarted. And this was like several years ago. I'm talking like 5, 6 years ago. Um, it's been in some form of development hell for a majority of that time. The person making it had a lot of issues going on in their life, and they had to drop the game for a while. But they actually last year made successfully like made a deal with a publisher to publish the game and fund the game. So they are working on it full time right now, and there's a release date set for 2023. We don't have an
Mhm.
exact date, but it's supposed to be coming out this coming year. So, and there has been steady progress shown of the game. So this is a strategy RPG in the same vein as like Tactics Ogre or like Final Fantasy Tactics. I've had my eye on this for a long time. I don't. I'm gonna be frank. Like I don't have high expectations for this game. Like, but I'm probably I'm gonna. I've had my eye on it for so long, though. I feel the need to see it through. Some elements of it do really spark what I love about strategy RPGs. That like character building and class based, gameplay. So I'm willing to give it a shot. I just think it's going to be a really rough indie game, though. Animations are not going to be great. Music is probably not going to be great. Like things like that are probably going to flag. So on this kind of game, so we'll see. I'll if I do get it though, I will of course talk about it on the show. But all right, Montreal, let's talk about your first one you have listed here, which is Alan Wake 2. Alan Wake is obviously a very famous game that came out a long time ago now. But
Yeah.
Montreal, what are you excited about for Alan Wake 2?
Yeah, I thought this franchise was dead. I really loved the first Alan Wake. It's another survival horror game with
Mm-hmm.
detective elements to it.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. It was just a really cool game. It reminded me of this one game called Alone in the Dark that came out in the GameCube, or Eternal Darkness. I think that's the one I'm thinking about. Eternal Darkness. It reminded me a lot of that game
Mm-hmm.
that came on the GameCube. And yeah, Alan Wake was just a really weird game. Um, and it kind of went under the radar. It had a cult following. And I'm glad part two is coming out, but we still don't have a release date for it. So that's all I got for that.
Okay. Fair enough. All right. Let's move on to my next one, which I put on here is Blue Protocol. So you like called this game out to me and sent me like a gameplay video, and I kind of poo pooed it, because it looks like a Genshin Impact clone to me, but
Yeah.
you kind of pointed out though that it actually is like a legit MMO. And I just looked into it a little bit more, and I'm like, okay, if that's true, this actually looks like it could be good, maybe. So we don't know too much about it right now, but I'm willing to like check it out when it does come out. And I don't know if you're, especially if like you're interested in it, and we can get anybody else to play. I will definitely play it at that point. But it's a potentially interesting looking game. So not much more to say about that one. Let's move on to your next one, which is Assassin's Creed Mirage. Um, I'm surprised that this is on your list, to be honest.
The more I read about it, I was a huge Assassin's Creed fan. Like, I don't know if anybody know that, but I was. I was like very into the lore.
I didn't really know that.
Yeah,
You
I
never really
was. I
talked about
was.
that on the show, so yeah.
Yeah, because the series kind of like when we got started doing the podcast, the series took a fucking nosedive for me, and I stopped playing it.
Yeah. They had
Uh,
run it into the ground by the time we started the
yeah,
podcast, so yeah.
exactly. So I never really like had anything to go back to it on. Even when we played Odyssey, it still wasn't what I wanted from Assassin's Creed. Like it was a good turn in the direction, like an Odyssey Origins gameplay. But it wasn't just what I wanted from Assassin's Creed. And a lot of the news and everything around it is like, oh, we're going back to the roots and everything like that. And I really loved the original Assassin's Creed. I
Yeah.
love the stealth gameplay. It wasn't like super action. Like you could get into an action combat situation, but it was all about, how can I kill this target as stealthily as possible. And
Mm-hmm.
I really love that part of like Assassin's Creed, especially like when Brotherhood came out. Brotherhood to me was like peak Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
Because you can do like action shit, but you have a team with you and you can set up shit that is just like crazy with the game. Um, so they said that they're Mirage, they're going back to the basics. So I'm actually looking forward to it. Everything I've seen so far, they actually like the gameplay, or not the gameplay, but the graphics and everything is going back towards that almost old style, like 360 PlayStation 3 era, but more stylish.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that style works well for Assassin's Creed. Like I don't really like the hyper realistic shit. I think they should lean more into that. So I'm on board for it, but I just have to see more for it. I
Well,
just
yeah, what I'll say about
have to
this
see.
one, I'm not I've never been a big Assassin's Creed fan. Odyssey was like really my first foray into the franchise. And
Okay.
I still think about that game to this day. I want to go back and beat that game, but it's just such a huge game. I've always found it so intimidating. But um I think the thing with Mirage that did kind of pique my interest when we watched that Ubisoft thing where they announced like 12 Assassin's Creed games was the way they talked about the game is that it sounds like it takes place in a city, and that's like the whole game. Like there isn't like a giant open world necessarily. Like the city is the open world, and I think
Yeah.
that is very appealing to me. If they actually are telling the truth and hold to that, then that could be a place I could jump back into the series, because that I think that like condensed, dense open world is more what I'm looking for, dude. I don't need a giant like fucking continent sized open world,
Well,
you know?
let me tell you a game you can play called Assassin's Creed, the original one.
Yeah.
It takes place in one city.
Mm-hmm.
You're in Jerusalem,
Mm-hmm.
and the Knights of Templar has just moved in. So you're fighting like these people, but it's like in a condensed ass city. You can go through rooms, you can go through hallways, you can go through alleys, and all this shit. It's
Mm-hmm.
just the city itself. It's not a whole fucking countryside like Odyssey and everything like that. Even like
Yeah.
Black Flag, it's not a whole fucking island or the chain of islands. It's just like Assassin's Creed one, two, and Brotherhood is just in the city.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved it for that because they had a lot more freedom as far as what they can do in that city compared to like the countryside and all the other shit like that. So I think I think those games actually still kind of hold up well. They're probably like $2 on Steam. You can probably fucking
Mm-hmm.
find them and play them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Assassin's Creed 1 through 3 was like really good for me. So that's why I do like that. I did notice that too, that they're going back to the city, and I just hope they keep it to the city and make the city as dense as possible to
Yep.
where I
Yeah.
can do a lot of different shit. So
Yeah, and I think that would be a great I think that would be a great way to like, because you can make a big open world that's a city, right? Cities are huge. you know,
yeah,
it's like if you make a really dense city, which you can definitely do on PS5 and Xbox Series X now, where like majority of buildings are enterable. I mean, suddenly you've got a game that is like mind-bendingly huge that is just in this densely packed location, and I think that is some. I'm gonna be honest, it's something we haven't seen a lot in games. Like I know you're talking about the original Assassin's Creed, but I doubt it was as dense as what I'm talking about, right? Like where
oh
like
yeah, yeah,
every building is enterable.
yeah,
That
yeah,
that
yeah.
is something we truly haven't seen in games. Is an open world like that. So that would be interesting, and I kind of hope that's the direction they're really going. So I think that would be intriguing if that's the case. So all right, let's move on to my next one. I'm actually gonna blow through two of them here because I don't have a lot to say about either of these. But Front Mission 2 remake is I didn't even get the first Front Mission remake. I'm just putting it on here because I'm definitely gonna play both of these eventually. And then the next one after that is a game called Hightail. I think I've put this on the last like 2 or 3 years, but I don't believe this. I put a note in here like I don't actually believe this game's coming out this coming year. They like I've been following this game on and off for like 3 or 4 years now, and I occasionally go to their website and check their blog posts out. And last time I did, they had talked about doing a massive like revamp of things in the game, and they were kind of not starting over from scratch, but kind of redoing a lot of stuff, which makes me feel like they're not anywhere near close to releasing with this game. So, but this game is on lists for games coming out in 2023, so that's kind of why I put it on here. Um, but it is a just to give a brief understanding of the game too and why I'm following it. It's a voxel RPG, so it's like a Minecraft looking game. That's an RPG. That's like an open world RPG, but you can like build shit like Minecraft. So I think that marriage of those two things sounds really appealing to me and always has, which is why I've been following this game. But we shall see if it even comes out this year. All right, let's go back to you. Your we both have this game on our list actually is Black Myth Wukong. Um,
Hmm.
we haven't seen this game for a while, but what we did see of it looked really strong. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
and yeah, I mean, go ahead if you want to talk about it.
I mean, I really don't have too much to say about it.
Yeah, me
Just
either.
the gameplay that we saw a year ago at this point, um,
Mm-hmm.
you know, looked really strong at the time. I think it still looks strong right now, even with the plethora of other games that came out
Mm-hmm.
with it. And we clearly like these type of games, so I just put it on the list because it's probably a game I'm not going to pick up first day as soon as it comes out, but I want to
Yeah,
add it to my collection and play it. So,
yeah. All right, next game on my list is Spider-Man 2. You don't have this on your list. Is that intentional?
I actually forgot about the game, to be honest with you.
Okay, because that is coming
Yeah.
this year, and I do think they're going to hit that date because it'll be 5 years in September since the first one came out, and we don't know really anything about this game. We've seen no gameplay. They haven't talked about it since the reveal trailer. We don't know when it's coming out. I do kind of wonder if this game is closer than we think. Like, is this a first half of the year release for Sony? Because we don't know really anything about their upcoming lineup next year beyond like the show, which is a yearly release for them. So, um, but regardless, if it does come out this year, this is a game I am highly, highly, highly excited for. Um, the two Spider-Man games we've gotten so far from Insomniac have just been absolute fucking home runs to me.
Yep.
And I expect nothing less out of this one. I think we're gonna play as Miles and Peter in this next game, which is fucking awesome. I think that's great. I think it's a great place to take the franchise. So I don't know. I don't have much more to say than that, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm just they haven't shown any gameplay of it,
Yeah.
so I didn't put it on my list until I see some kind of gameplay or
Mm-hmm.
anything. All I've seen was cinematic trailers of it, so
Yeah.
I'm excited for it. I know it's going to be good, but I just need to see gameplay before I confirm my excitement. So
Mm-hmm.
that's probably why I didn't put it on the list because they haven't said anything about it, even though I know it's coming this year, or I guess when they hear it next year. No, it'll
Yep.
still be this year, so next year. But yeah, um, that's why I'm just being cautiously optimistic about it right now.
Fair enough. All right, let's move on. Next, we'll do another one of mine. I put that game Pal World on here. You remember this one? This is the one with like the Pokemon with guns or
Oh, the
whatever.
Pokemon with guns, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just so extreme like intrigued by the concept that I want to see what this game ultimately ends up being. Just out of pure fascination. Whether we play it or not, I have no idea. I mean, it could be absolute dog shit, but it could also be fucking incredible. Who knows? But ever since you showed me this, I just was like, dude, what the hell, man? So, we'll see. I mean, it doesn't have a date or anything. This is another game that's kind of went into the mist ever since they announced it. Like I've heard fucking nothing about this game. So I have no idea what state it's in. It could be, it, maybe not even come out. Who knows? But regardless, I will be keeping an eye on it. So, all right, let's go back to you. The next one you have is Bomb Rush Cyberpunk.
Yes, this is the spiritual successor to Jet Set Radio Future. I've been wanting a Jet Set Radio Future game since the beginning of time, and Sega is not going to release one anytime soon, even though they said they were going to do a remake sometime soon, but they haven't done anything with the franchise, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
been on ice. And the team that's making it also did another game called God damn, I wish I can remember the game. It's a fighting game, but not a fighting game. But it's a really cool game, and they did it in the style of Jet Set Radio Future, like that cartoony
Mm-hmm.
cyberpunk style.
Mm-hmm.
And this game is doing the same thing, but it's actually doing like Jet Set Radio. You can grind, you can spray paint, you can fight for territory with gangs. While you're spray painting, and it has like really good music. They got the guy who did the music in Jet Set Radio and Jet Set Radio Future. They got that same guy, and he's doing the music in this game. So, and the music track they released so far has been really good. So a lot of people are just waiting for it. They're taking their time with this game. It's a small team, it's an indie company, and I'm just patiently waiting for it. They said it's going to be released. They did announce like early this year, like around the fall time, that hey, it's not coming until either the summer or maybe the fall of 2023, which is
Mm-hmm.
okay. Um, every time they release like tidbits of the game, screenshots, videos, describing what the game is or showing gameplay footage. By the way, they already showed hella gameplay footage for this game, so that's why I'm super excited for it. I know it's coming. I'm just patiently waiting because, like I said, this is a smaller team. So,
Mm-hmm.
uh, yeah, I mean, if you never played Jet Set Radio Future, uh, I think it's a really cool, quirky game. You you spray graffiti on walls, and you fight these other little stupid gangs in Tokyo. Your game's called Jet Set Radio. You go against this one game called the 99ers, which are like girls with like they all dress the same, the gangs, except for your gang. And these girls had like they're like goth looking, almost like Harley Quinn looking little girls with chains in their neck.
Mm-hmm.
One guy's called they're not called sewer rats, called sewer crocodiles or something like that. And they look like dudes dressed up as crocodiles with like
Oh
roller
my
skates.
god.
It's so fucking it's so
Yeah.
fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
And you go into the sewers and you start tagging, like you do tags, and they have a whole system for when you're doing graffiti and everything, and you fight against the cops as well. Like the cops are like, "Oh, stop graffiti in the place" and everything like that nature. So it's
Mm-hmm.
just a cool, quirky game. Uh, and I think it was a real cool embodiment of what the early 2000s and mid 2000s were. Like
Yeah.
you got those big jeans and everything like that, and like just hip hop and everything. It's just a really cool time, and it reminds me of that time. It's a really cool game to play. I suggest people go back and play it if you can try to find it. But yeah, it's really cool.
All right, fair enough. Let's go back to me. I guess we'll cover my last two, and then we'll get the last one you have together because we both have it. So the next one I
Okay.
have is called Mina the Hollower. So this is an indie game made by Yacht Club Games. They're the makers of Shovel Knight, all the Shovel Knight games.
Okay.
Now we did talk about this game on the show before because they did a Kickstarter for this game. I think it was early this year or late last
Oh
year,
yeah.
and
Okay, I
I
remember this game.
questioned the need for that given the success of this studio, and I still question that. However, I don't at this point. It's a game coming out. I'm gonna if it looks good enough, I'm gonna buy it when it comes out and play it. Right. So
Yeah.
what this game is, though, the reason I'm intrigued by it is this is like a ode
This
to the
game looks
Game
really
Boy.
fucking.
Yeah, it's an ode to the Game Boy style Zelda games,
Yeah.
like Link's Awakening DX and the Oracle Seasons, Oracle Ages, those style, and Minish Cap. It 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 basically looks like taken straight out of that period of time, and I think it looks really good, to be honest. I love those games, those Zelda games, and I think to get that style of game from a indie company, Yacht Club in particular, they've already done the Mega Man thing and knocked that out of the fucking park with Shovel Knight. So I have absolute faith that they're gonna knock this one out of the park too. So this game is I don't think it's really under the radar, but I definitely, if you've not heard of it, I would recommend you guys go check it out. Like, go look at some screenshots, look at some, if there's any trailers out there, go check those out too. Because if you like that old style of Zelda, like this is going to be a game right up your alley. So,
Yeah,
um,
it's really
yeah,
Zelda meets. uh the style of it is Zelda meets like Castlevania
Yeah.
almost. It's really
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Definitely, definitely. It definitely has that like Castlevania aesthetic for sure. Especially like
Yeah.
the candle, the like candelabras on the walls and stuff. Like
Yeah.
they looked ripped right out of fucking Castlevania, dude. So, and I think she has like a chain that she throws too,
Yeah, yeah. I'm
almost like a
watching the
whip.
gameplay footage of it right now.
Yeah, almost like the Castlevania whip. So yeah. All right, the next one, this is my last game on my list, is Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. So I think I've talked about this game for the last 2 years as well. Now, I think you and I talked about this game privately, that there have been some changes behind the scenes to this game that are disappointing to say the least. So I'm not sure if this game is really going to be up my alley at this point. It looks like they've taken out some of the complexity and things like that I was really excited about when I initially saw this. But this is another one of those games that I've been following for so long at this point that I just kind of need to see it through. I really want to see what it comes out looking like, because if it's good, it could be great. But we're just, I'm just not sure how good it's really going to be ultimately. But so we shall see. I mean, they delayed it out of 2022 into 2023. I'm still not sure, to be honest, if this is going to come out this year either. This feels like a game that's really been struggling the last couple of years in terms of development. So yeah,
Yeah, I remember it was, first it was being handled by Platinum Games, and now it's being handled by is it
yeah,
Side Games now? I
yeah. They
believe.
took it internal.
Yeah, so um the gameplay footage that they did show with Platinum Games, I really love that gameplay. But then I remember I saw the Side Games, and I was like, it looks okay, but it's not Platinum Games, but it still looks really good.
Right.
Um, um, but I don't know. Yeah, it's been one of those games that's been like really weird, have a weird development cycle. So
Yeah.
I don't know what they're gonna do with it.
For sure. Yeah, we'll see. All right. So the last game, which we both have on our list, is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. This is slated for 2023. And it is winter potentially right now. I think that's what they're slated for. Do you think they're going to hit that date?
That's a strong maybe.
Hmm. I
When did
agree.
Final Fantasy come out?
Uh, Remake.
Yeah, the remake. That
It
one
was
came out in 2020,
2020.
right? April 2020,
Was
I
it
believe.
really? Hold on. I'm gonna
I
look
think it
that
was
up.
April.
Because, dude, that would mean that's 3 years ago in April. Like, what?
Yeah, I think that was April 2020, bro. Let me check real quick. Final Fantasy 7 remake.
Yeah, April 10th, 2020. Bro, what?
Yep.
What? It's been almost 3 years since this came out. What the fuck? Like, what? That is mind bending. I can't even wrap my head around that, dude. That's crazy. That's fucking crazy.
Because you can still remember every aspect of that game.
I
I
do.
still remember. I still remember
Yeah,
every aspect of
I
that game.
definitely do. It feels like it came out last year.
Yeah.
That's crazy,
Uh,
man.
that being said, I'm not sure. I think this game's gonna get pushed back. It's
Hmm.
Nomura working on it. Nomura likes to take time working on his games. Uh, yeah, I think it's gonna get pushed
I know,
back.
but I will say I gotta give them credit though. We thought that way about Remake, that it was never going to come out, and dude, they did it. They got it out in less than 3 years. Like got it made, done, out in less than 3 years. I mean, this game has a bigger scope than the first one, I think, but I mean, still, I don't know. They just seem to have a development pipeline with this particular series of games that is really efficient. So I
I
don't know.
think the
I think they're gonna
decision
make it.
to
I think they're gonna make it, dude. I'm just gonna say it. I think they're gonna make it.
okay. I really think the decision to not release it as one huge game was a really good decision.
Well, we would
I
have never
think
seen it if they tried to do that.
yeah. So I don't know. I'll use my favorite phrase: cautiously optimistic. I don't think
Yeah.
if it gets pushed back, then cool. If it doesn't, then cool.
No, I have the utmost confidence in this game. They've shown me nothing that gives me any pause. Like, I'm not worried about it at all. From a quality standpoint. Um, yeah, I don't know. Like, Final Fantasy VII Remake was such a wonderful surprise to me that like that game, I still hold that game in extremely high regard. So yeah, I don't know. I have tons of faith in them with this one.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Since they have the system down, they can all they just need to do is make the story elements now at this point
Yeah,
because
make
they have the gameplay.
environments and obviously
Yeah,
new characters and whatever
yeah,
other elements they're adding. But yeah, they have an engine. So,
yeah.
but
That's it for me.
okay, I do have two non games on here, but they're game related. So the television show for The Last of Us. Um, I'm actually kind of excited about this. It's coming out. It's going to start coming out in January. Is when episodes are going to start dropping, and I don't know. It looks good to me, honestly. So it'll be interesting. Are you going to watch
Uh,
it? You think you're going to watch it?
I'm gonna let it bake for a minute.
Yeah, I'm not gonna watch it episode to episode. I'm gonna wait till it's all out. I can't watch it week to week anymore. But um, yeah. But
Yeah, that's
I think I'm gonna
I'm the
watch it.
same way. I can't do week to week shit anymore either.
Yeah,
So
which is which sucks because all the streaming services except for Netflix have now gone to a weekly release model, and it's so annoying, dude.
yeah,
Like Netflix ruined it for all of us, and these companies are just making us watch this shit weekly. So, but
yeah.
the other
It's to
thing
the
I had,
point now
yeah, go
where
ahead.
I just mute. I especially on Twitter, I mute like this series I want to watch. I muted Chainsaw Man.
Mm,
So now now that all the episodes, I think the last episode's about to drop like next week, for the season. I'm gonna watch all of them now. But
hmm
yeah, I just been not doing that. So
Yeah. And then the other thing is the Super Mario Bros. Movie. Um, that trailer we saw a few months ago was really strong, and I think this movie will be very fun. So,
I am just not interested in it. I really don't like Mario's voice. It's nothing against Chris Pratt. It just sounds like Chris Pratt. Like it doesn't sound like Mario to me. Uh, but
see, I don't know. I don't see that. I know what you like. DJ was talking about. Like Chris Pratt has like an animated like voiceover voice, and that's what he's doing in this. But I don't know. I don't have a huge problem with it. It sounds fine.
yeah, I mean it sounds really cool. It's just I don't know. It's just really weird. It's gonna take me a while to get into it. I'm definitely not rushing to the movie theater to go see it, but yeah, I hope it
This
does
isn't like
well.
Sonic.
Yeah, this isn't like Sonic. Like this isn't. I know this movie's gonna be good. Uh, so it's not like a must see for me if that makes any sense. Like it's weird. Like it's just you just know
Well,
it's gonna be good. So
I'm gonna go
I've
see it
never
with my
really been a
wife.
huge
So
Mario fan anyway. So
yeah, yeah. I'm gonna go see it with my wife. Like I think she wants to see it too. So
okay,
um, that's another reason I'm looking forward to it. So looks pretty good. But okay, that's the end of our lists. Montreal, we got through like what 30 games there.
yeah, yep.
We did it a little bit over what we wanted, but this episode usually goes like 3 hours every year, so I think we did pretty good this year overall. Um, any other games you can think of that we didn't cover that you want to talk about?
No, not
All
right
right.
now.
I think the only other thing to say is I'm still interested in Sony. What are they coming out with this year? Because we don't know anything, bro.
TV shows.
I know, right? Yeah, I know, right? I mean, there's a lot on the games front that we just don't know, though, right?
Yeah,
So we got to find out soon, like next month or two. They got to drop something, so we will anticipate that. Oh, Last of Us Factions, that should probably be coming out this year, maybe. That could be cool.
maybe that I heard that was gonna be 2024.
Oh, Jesus Christ, that shit better be unbelievably good if it's gonna come out in 2024. But I wouldn't put it past Naughty Dog. I mean, like they know how to make a good game. So, all right, Moncho. Well, I think we'll call it there. And next week, guys, we're going to be doing our Game of the Year discussion for 2022. Now, I just want to remind everybody we're not doing it like your typical Game of the Year show. We're not going to be ranking things. We're not going to be really declaring a Game of the Year like what. Like we may say in the middle of conversation, this was my favorite game of the year, but we're not like there's not a title associated with that. We're not like making a big fuss about it. To be frank, we might talk about games that didn't come out in 2022. I definitely will be. So, it's more of a what did we enjoy playing this year? That's kind of the crux of the episode. So, for those of you listening, if you want to send us some of the stuff that you enjoyed in a comment, question, on Twitter, please do so, and we'll cover that on the show too. So, otherwise, that is it, guys. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please like the show, review the show, and subscribe to the show on whatever feed you're listening to it on. And please share with your friends. If you'd like to interact with us on Twitter, you can do so at iTrap for the Hokage for Montrell. That is the number 4, not the word. I'm at ThunderNut01, and the show is at the Players Take. If you'd like to send us a question, you can do so on Twitter, or you can send us an email to playerstake01@gmail.com. And that is it for us, guys. We hope you enjoyed this one, and we'll see you next week. Bye. Happy New Year.